For my reading, the Izzy story, you're 27 now, right?
28.
Just turned 28.
Yeah.
Has 3 chapters. And there's the beginning, which we've covered in Gisborne and family life. And there's what's happened with ATL.
Yep.
And in the middle, there's ages 16 to 21.
ALH, bro.
ALH.
Oh, yeah, good pickup.
Yeah.
ATL. I was like, what have you been doing in Atlanta, bro?
Yeah. Who knows?
But 16 to 21 is when you left Gisborne and you moved to Auckland.
Yep.
And then we sort of mentioned some adversity.
Yep.
Are you able to talk about those years, why you moved to Auckland, and then paint the picture of what happened across those years?
Yeah. So, getting into Auckland was the look. I'm happy. I always say I'm always happy. I'm never satisfied, and I'm not yet proud to see what I've delivered. But if I'm going to put the P word out there, I'm most proud of myself for getting out of Gisborne, because if I didn't get out of Gisborne, shit, who knows? I went and played at a football tournament and linked up with a coach that was at Sykesy, who was at Westlake, and I'd kind of exchanged emails, but I had to lie to him and tell him that my parents used my email. So I was emailing Sykesy pretending I was my dad, because there's no way I would have been allowed to leave like to a school that was outside of my family church or my family home. It was just so forbidden. So I was kind of like orchestrating this whole kind of opportunity, and I was like, geez, like I'd been working for about 4 years in Gizzy, and I'd been mowing the lawn, so I knew that I could survive for kind of 2 years. So I knew that I could have enough money. I think I could have just spent like $70 or $72 a week in Auckland with what I'd saved, and I could sell my truck that I bought.
Hell, man, that's a hustler's mentality at an early age.
Yeah, well, I just thought, I was like I kind of just thought, like, I was like, man, I need to get out of here. So I kind of orchestrated it. And I never forget, I went to my mum and dad and I said, look, guys, I've got this intercity bus ticket that I'm going to jump on and go to Auckland and give this school called Westlake a crack. And if it's successful and they want me, I'm going. I'm not coming back. I'm 16. I can do whatever I want. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but and that was it. And the trial went well. I didn't think it went well, but it went well enough. Got involved at Westlake. Had 2 of the most phenomenal years of my life at Westlake. What that school was able to provide me in the way of nurturing, infrastructure around, actually just how to be a bloke, a good guy. And uphold yourself with integrity and respect. I learnt so much from that school on many aspects, and the family I live with, the Cornter family, they did so much for me. They didn't have to take me in when they did, and they did. And then so I went through school. I failed school. I couldn't go to uni. But Dad was a builder back in the day. My uncle was my brother's a joiner. Was a joiner by trade. I kind of knew how to swing a hammer, so I was like, I'll just try and get a building apprenticeship. So ended up kind of getting on the books of a building apprenticeship, and I kind of was veering away from playing football, and I just wanted to kind of get stuck into work. Once you're doing big hours and your labour-intensive job, you lose that motivation to. One of them has to give, right? And I didn't even really like football. I actually never liked football. Not once did I kind of thrive playing. It was always about winning. And then so I kind of took a year off footy, did the building thing, did the flatting thing with a bunch of mates, which was fun. And then year 2, got back into footy. Martin Bullock actually gave me a buzz and kind of went in and jumped in at the youth team at YTAC, and that was actually just cool to get back into a team environment and team setting, and then continued to play from there. But then later on in that second year, I then got mugged in town, so I got beaten up. Reuben Parker, goalkeeper. That's a him problem, bro. Threw an export can, I'll never forget, into the wrong group of people, and I was the one that got picked on.
Really sorry for our podcast to trigger the visceral memory.
He's a top mate of mine. I've told him this 100 times, so it's not new to him. But yeah, so that happened. So my shoulder got dislocated. I had to have like a reconstruction surgery, which put me off the tools for a long time, and longer than I would have liked. And it was at that stage I was kind of like, all right, I'm on ACC. I want to play youth league, and I want to time my surgery so it's kind of only with one game to go. I'd never won anything in football, like a league or anything. I was like, our YTAC team was pretty good, can we do it, And then, so we went to kind of, I basically planned to have surgery two games out before the end of the season. And so I was playing through it. I was thinking about starting studying the next year. I never forget. I played we played a game on Saturday, and then on Sunday we had a crate day, and I was due to go and get my surgery on the Wednesday, and that was basically us saying catch you later. So we're all the boys having crates, the Waitak fellas celebrating kind of a bit of an early end of season gig, and I was getting pizza that kind of a few hours later with my girlfriend at the time, and that's when my bearing in mind my dad was due to be flying up on the Wednesday morning to be there with my surgery, and then I got a call from my sister saying that my dad had died, and I was drunk. I don't know what the hell was going on, and I kind of thought, no, he's not. I spoke to him last night. He's kind of coming up on Wednesday. Kind of, what are you talking about? And she said, Dad's been found dead. And I was kind of like, what the fuck? How's this happen? He's an upbeat guy. Like, people think I'm a pretty high energy, positive guy. He was exactly the same. So for me, I instantly thought someone's beating him up. Like, because he was a caretaker, he had to go and do the alarms and stuff at Girls High late at night. So he'd always there'd be alarms going off. A cat would set it off. And Gizzy's, it's probably the last place you want to be walking around late at night. And yeah, so then I connected with the family I've been living with, the Cornters. I went over there and they kind of huddled around me and we hatched a plan to get me home as quickly as I can. Their dad, Paulie Cornter, drove me to Tauranga to intercept with my brother, who was in New Plymouth. And then he drove me home. And I remember I saw my brother... There's the BP in Tauranga that you kind of, if you're going back onto the motorway coming out of the mount, I'll never forget, and I drive past that every fortnight, and it's one of those things I'll never forget. Never forget driving in there. We're in Sarah Cornter's Mini Cooper, and my brother was sat at the kind of Barlina pace where you kind of see your tradies having their pies and their cokes. And he was just sobbing, and he was sobbing next to the BP employee, and I was thinking, all right, fuck, this is step one of this is real. I need to go in and see my brother. We get in the car, and then I said, Banjo, I'm drunk. I don't want to keep, help me to understand what's happened. He said, I don't want to know. He said, I just don't want to know. I said, well, do you know? He goes, no, look, I don't know. It was head injuries, and I was kind of like, he's been beaten up. Someone's, done one on him. I was kind of, oh, whatever. And then I was kind of nodding on and off. Again, crate days, I wouldn't recommend crate day on a day like that. But so we get to Gizzy. And then I walk in the door, and my sister, I got such a close relationship with my sister, Bougie. And if it was someone that was going to tell me what exactly happened, it was her. And I just said, Bougie, fucking cut me a break here. What's going on? And she just said to me, Dad's kind of committed suicide, and I was kind of like, no, he hasn't. Like, come on, like that's not happened. And then she said, no, he has. Like, he'd left a letter, and that was kind of it. I was like, all right, well, that's happened now. Where do I go from here, and where does the family go? So that was such a massive kind of hurdle to have to experience, and especially because it caught me by surprise, and maybe because I'd left home and I wasn't really there. I didn't see any of the signs. Like, I knew Dad had a bit of a screw loose, and he was quite military styled in the way he was kind of bringing me up to an extent. So yeah, it blindsided me, and then it was kind of the next day. I never forget, like, all the family are there as siblings, people coming in. And I kind of almost thought, like, they were kind of, all right, Izzy, you need to move your surgery. You need to, it's on Wednesday. And I was like, nah, like, I'm not stopping for this. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do and what I think I need to do. And I kind of almost went into, like, upbringing mode. It's like, you've got a challenge, deal with it the best way you feel, and push forward. So I kind of went about it my way. And wasn't necessarily the way that my family thought I should have gone about it. My brother-in-law you know, we kind of went up and got my surgery and stuff like that, and drove me up and down. And I'll never forget waking up from that surgery, and the first question I asked the doctor was, I had this bad dream that my dad took his life. And she just broke down in tears, and then she said, "Oh, that's not for me to confirm, but I think that's the situation." So, yeah, so that was that hurdle. So that happens. Then I go and have surgery on the Wednesday, have the funeral on the Saturday, and then it's kind of my whole exercise routine that was so critical and important was taken away. So I was sat on my ass thinking about this thing for so long, and I just wanted to get back to playing football. And I've never missed football because that was the first time I actually wanted to play football, so I could take my mind off things.
I'll just jump in here before you continue. Thank you for sharing that. When you are dealing with this incredible adversity, probably the hardest thing you will ever go through, and you're making these decisions and you're figuring it out, are you getting professional help as well? Are there other people who are helping you through this?
No, not for a long time. Like I probably went cold turkey for about like a year and a bit. No, just kind of dial yourself in, do what you feel's best, and I felt like I did it right. Like generally, I did what I had to do. Like I won ugly, right? You kind of, it's a 1-0 win, you know, and a scrappy win. But then the next stage, the heart stuff. So I kind of just went about my life, right? I kind of got stuck into what I went to. I changed some of the infrastructure around my life. I dialed into uni. Hated uni, sucked at uni, but I was playing football at the time. It was really awesome. I was enjoying Forest Hill. We had such a cool setup. We had my two best mates from school. We were all on the same team, and we were just having fun playing together and winning. It was Div 2. We had a stacked team, so I think we lost once that season. So it was actually a really cool shift for me to have. But then I trickled down your fella's way to Hamilton that following summer when with YBOP, and I signed for YBOP. We're doing the travel thing. I wasn't good enough to be playing National League. I was just fit, had a left foot. Not many people kind of have a kick with their left foot, as you boys know. And I was kind of just like working harder and harder and harder in the only thing that I knew, and that was kind of fitness, right? I was just trying to get so fit. Remember Scotty Hillier was in our team, and geez, that guy had some legs and lungs on him, right? And it was kind of like, I just wanted to be as fit as that guy. And so everything I was doing, it wasn't football based. I was in training with Suns about some strength and speed, but it was just fitness because that was kind of my escape. And then I actually realised, or started to feel kind of in the end of January, that something wasn't quite right in the engine. And I was kind of like, oh, something's feeling a little bit interesting. Like, I know I should be getting fitter, but I'm getting more unfit. And I was kind of kept it to myself for a long time. And then the summer season stopped, and as you have a bit of an overlap with summer league and winter league, I think we had a few games off with the stand down period or whatever. And then I said to Boynesy, I said, I just want to get straight back into it. I just need to get straight back into it. I hardly played. I was like, I just want to play football and kind of take my mind off things. And then I'll never forget, we the first game of the season was against Western Springs, and it was stinking hot. And I was buggered, like just after half time, and I was like feeling cramp, and I was like, fuck, something's really wrong here. But what do you think it is when you're that age? You know, you're fit, you look down, you got friggin' abs, you got, a couple of muscles on your legs, you're feeling good about yourself, and you kind of, the last thing you think that's going to be letting you down is your heart. So I kind of pushed through, got a few games in, and my last ever competitive game of football was against Hamilton Wanderers. And I had 2 episodes when I went to go and do my laces coming onto the bus, and I was kind of went to tie up my shoelaces, and just felt this nasty, like, sharp pain kind of come through my like lower back, and then kind of in the front. It almost felt like someone like went like jabbed me either side of the rib cage, and I was like, oh geez, that feels a bit interesting. Anyway, played the game, asked to come off a couple of times, but as you know, predominantly I was a fit guy. No one believed me that I was hurting and that I had to come off because I didn't have a bone sticking out of my leg. I didn't have a swollen ant. Like, it was kind of like, you look fine, keep playing. And I was like seeing 2A. Like, I'd never forget, I was trying to get myself sent off. Like, I was coming in, flying into tackle. I was like, I'm not getting taken off. I need to get off this pitch because something's about to shut down. And then I went out that night, had way too many beers, and then back in at Britomart Macca's, as everyone ends their nights in Auckland when you're that age, and sprawled across the floor. And I genuinely got up. First thing I did, I touched my shoulder blade, and I looked for blood because I thought someone stabbed me. Like, that's how intense the pain was. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And so that all happened, and then I looked at I was with my girlfriend at the time. I was kind of like, whoa, what happened there? I don't know. Let's just go home. I was like, yeah, happy days, go home. I could hardly get out of bed the next day, and it was an incredibly unfortunate wake-up call. That's one of their family, my partner's family at the time, family friends had just passed away because of lung cancer, and she was like, oh, we need to make sure it's not your lungs. And I was like, fuck, it could be my lungs. So I went and got the whole lung test and stuff at Massey University, and they said, Izzy, your lungs have never been better. And I was like, I thought so, Sweet. I was like, I didn't tell the coach that I'd gone and done this checkup, and we had a Tuesday night game or something. I was like, cool, got my game. They're like, oh, actually, hang back. We're going to do an ECG. I'd never heard of an ECG in my life. And that's when they did the ECG on me. And then the nurse, she was of Asian descent, and she went like pale when she'd kind of looked at my ECG. And she actually didn't say anything. She just left the room. And I'm kind of sitting there like, is she having a heart attack? Or I had a heart attack. And I was like, something's really wrong. And she comes back in and she said, hey, you're going to have to go straight to hospital, or we're going to have to get you an ambulance, and you're going to have to go into the room next door and tell your family that you've likely had multiple heart attacks. And she probably hadn't seen something like that. Like, she's a student nurse, and she was so shook, it didn't make me feel comfortable. But, she saved my life at the end of the day, and I never forget, oh my God, I've had a couple of heart attacks. I was like, I don't believe it, but apparently I've got to go to hospital. And if I don't, they're going to call an ambulance. And so my partner at the time's dad came and picked me up. We shot to the hospital and kind of got all the bloods and stuff done. And post that, then got diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, hypertrophic, which is kind of, they say you kind of get a flu, right? And you overtrain on it, and then you continue to overtrain and just exhaust it, and it kind of you lose a lot of functionality in some of like the left ventricle of your heart, and it basically shits itself over time if you don't catch it, and it kind of causes heart failure if you don't catch it early enough. So when they found it, my heart was 27% bigger than it should have been because it was swollen. They didn't know what was going on. So that was kind of step two. And I think in the hospital, I was there for 7 days. They weren't coming up with answers. They didn't know if it was athlete's heart. Like a lot of triathletes and long distance runners get athlete's heart, and you can actually de-swell your heart. But I was stuck in there for 7 days, and that's coming back to the dad stuff. That's when I had to deal with it again. It's kind of like I didn't deal with it early. I'm sat in a hospital. No one's allowed to be with me at night time. I'm in the cardiac area. I'm sure you can imagine the average age of the cardiac area. Fucking everyone's grey, got 70 years old. It's not like I can make too many mates with the people next to me. And it was a really humbling experience to say, all right, you've fanged it this hard. You've pushed your body too far. You've basically created a heart condition. Sit down, figure out what you have to figure out. And I remember I just cried like most nights, just bawled my eyes out, dealing with the dad stuff. And that was kind of the way it all kind of came about. And then off the back of that, I went to a psychologist called Johan in Gisborne 6 times. And it was just more directionary, right? Like he kind of said, you're going to feel this, and that's cool, but do this. Or these are some tips and techniques. And I went 6 times, and that was it. I felt really comfortable and really great after it. And it was just good to kind of have someone that I clicked with. He was a South African dude. He was funny. He was pretty blokey. And half the time I'd gone for those sessions, we'd just talk shit. And it's kind of like he's not sitting across from me feeling sorry for me. He's almost telling me to get on with my life, and this is how I get on with my life, And he said that to me. So I enjoy that you're willing to move forward. he said these are kind of the guys that can be a bit easier to deal with than kind of sitting there and being like, why me, why me, why me? Like, whether or not or why it happened, it's how do we push forward? So those are kind of the, yeah.
What was the time frame of your dad passing to the 2 heart attacks? Is that sort of a year? Is it 2 years?
It was probably 18 months.
18 months.
So Dad passed away in December, and I found out about it in May. Not that year, May year. So yeah, kind of 18 months.